Part of being a musicpreneur is being able to develop your entrepreneurial skills. Learning everything from marketing to business plans and business strategies, accounting, so on and so forth will help your music business thrive. And unfortunately, I would say 80 to 90% of music creators fail to focus on this aspect. The Musicpreneur podcast aims to close that gap with independent music creators. I had an opportunity to speak with Anwill Martinez, CEO and founder of Martinez Production Group. Similar to myself, we both started in music and acquired a lot of the necessary skill sets to go into creating businesses. Anwill talks about his passion for music and how it led him on a journey from being an independent artist, marketing himself, creating his own music business, to then transitioning over to creating his own production group. A lot of the things that we talked about are very relevant to the independent music creator of today. So stay tuned till the end. You don't want to miss a beat. And again, this episode is brought to you by distrokid. More on them later. Rapper to entrepreneur, this guy does it all, man. And I want to hear the story behind what led you from being an artist to really a full-fledged entrepreneur. But first of all, man, tell us a little bit about you. Give us kind of the short bio.
My name is Anwill. I'm 21 years old. I'm an entrepreneur, as Nico said. I'm from Pennsylvania. And yeah, man, I started singing when I was in 5th grade, actually in the choir. Wow. And then as we continued on through the journey, I did a lot of competitions, singing all around districts, regionals, they called it over here too. So in high school, I was really going in. My music career definitely started around that time. Singing since 5th grade, singing choir music to singing rap music or to singing just in general is very different. So you got to, kind of go around and figure that out. But yeah, it's been a good ride so far.
21 years, man. You carry yourself much older. You're definitely wiser. I'm 10 years older than you, and I can't say that I had it as well together as you do right now, which is great. I mean, that's a good thing for you. Okay, so backtracking here, what do you think made you be this level-headed individual that at least I've seen you to be? What do you think kind of molded you in the way that you are from both business standpoint, music standpoint, and even just your personality?
It's my parents, man. 100%. I started working when I was 14 years old, right? And I tell everybody, which is kind of funny, I always tell them, the reason I started working really because my dad would drive by McDonald's and I'd say, hey, can I get McDonald's? He goes, no, but you can say hi to it and then he'll drive by it. So my mindset was if I can get my own money, right, I can just say, yo, Dad, I have $10. Let me go get some chicken nuggets. And then he could just drive us there. Still didn't happen. But then, at 14 years old, I'm making every 2 weeks $450. And for a 14-year-old that has no expenses, that's a lot of money. You know what I mean? So I started then, and as I continued, my parents set the foundation for me to actually be more mature. They taught that goodness inside of me that there's days where I'm I'm only 21. It's okay to be a kid. It's okay. No, well, not anymore. But before, it's okay to be young and kind of make mistakes. But I knew in my head where I wanted to go, and I've always been more mature than most people. So I always wanted to make sure that I kind of set that example for my younger cousins and my brothers as well too. So.
Are you the oldest, or do you have older brothers?
No, so I have a younger brother, and by young, he's 18. He's in college now. I have a twin brother. We have different birthdays, and then I have an older brother, and he lives in New York. He's 25, I believe. Yeah.
Do you think having? I mean, some would consider it a large family. I have 3 children. I don't know. I have a friend of mine who has 10 kids, so I'm like, that's a huge family. But at the same time, do you think having those brothers also helped you with being an artist, being a musician, being a business person? How did that mold you?
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm very close to my family, really, really close. I always say since the beginning, family over everything. And it was funny that you asked that because what really, really molded me to take that step to say this 9 to 5 isn't it, is my older brother. He actually went to Pittsburgh University, graduated in 4 years, and then he had a degree. And then he's always wanted to be an actor. Right. Okay. But he went into the degree of marketing. He was working for a company, great paying job. It's a typical story. He wasn't happy. He was going down a route. He knew he could do more, and he wanted to go down the acting route, and he took that step. And, at first my parents weren't. It's always scary going from you're having insurance, you're having 401ks, you're having all these great paying jobs, living in New York City on top of that. Expenses are pretty high. To then going from nothing but going for your dream. And the acting space and entertainment world is very, very complicated, as you know. As us as artists, it gets very, very competitive, but also there's a lot of no's, a lot of things. So he actually set up the foundation for me because I went to college for a year. I really, college just wasn't for me. I just knew I was like, I feel like I could be doing more. And he kind of just told me, he's like, listen, man, just go for what you want. Like, there's nothing stopping you. You're young, too, on top of that, too. Just go for what you want. Like, if this is not what you think you want to do, don't spend thousands of dollars to put yourself in debt to go down a route that later you're going to regret. So, yeah, he kind of set up the foundation, and it was good, too, because then when I did quit my 9-to-5, my parents already had somebody old, like already a test subject that happened. So it wasn't as crazy or weird. I mean, they were still kind of like, okay, but right away I got to work and they knew my work ethic. So they were like, we trust you.
Now, this episode is brought to you by distrokid. In my opinion, the #1 distribution service for independent music creators. Here's why. Starting at a low annual fee, you get to distribute unlimited amounts of music. This helps you create a cadence of being able to deliver the product that you create, which is your music, without having to break the bank. Like startup tech companies, most independent creators have to start off by bootstrapping their business. That means that it's self-funded. And so one of the things that you want to do is try to focus your money, your budget on marketing, creating and editing video, getting your brand out there, and hopefully working with other artists. That takes money. And so the benefit of using distrokid is you're saving a lot more money by distributing with them than by going through any other distribution service. On top of that, there are a plethora of features that are available for you. So if you're starting out and you don't know about graphic design or creating Spotify canvases or even having the ability to verify your YouTube channel or getting your Spotify artist profile up to date, these features are all included in your distrokid membership. So sign up using my discount link, distrokid.com/VIP/Nico Santana. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the podcast. Man, I feel like younger siblings always luck out, right? I'm the older one of two, so my sister and I, and all my mistakes, I would tell her, don't do this, don't do that. And she saw it firsthand. She saw like kind of the ups and the downs of me doing whatever I was doing, whether it was career-wise, finance, business, relationships, all that stuff, right? I'm like, I feel like she got it easy. Plus, my parents were easier on her too, right? So like if I wanted the iPod, they're like, no, but she wants it. It's funny how that works out, man. Backtracking a little bit back to the music, you went from choir to rapping. So what got you into rapping?
This is the complicated part because I don't consider myself a rapper. I consider myself more of a singer. What got me into it really was I would do all the choir music, and I love, you had like tenor, bass, alto, soprano, all them, mixing all those noises and understanding music and understanding how it works and put it all together. Like I just love that. And making music and just hearing the sounds that everybody can make with their own voice and actually do that, like I just love that. But on top of that, I do love hip hop. Hip hop is like my thing. And it was around 2016, 2017. I started to make beats a little bit, not like too crazy, just, typical. I got the mini pad and I just wanted to make my own stuff. I was like, yo, if anybody could do this, like, why not me? My friends were making music on top of that too. And I'm already like, I'm a singer already, right? Like it can't be that hard. So when you start, you kind of just have fun with it. You make terrible songs in the beginning, but now you hear it, you're like, this is terrible. But you're just making those songs. And as I continued, there was a part of me that felt weird. There was a part of me that every time I made a song, I was like, I feel like I could do more than this, right? And that was the entrepreneurial side that I can say was itching, right? It was trying to come out, trying to tell you like. So I always was like, making music is great. I feel like I could do more, but I don't know what it is. So then, I took the typical college route and went down that route. I did make some music in college too, messed around a little bit, but I still had that feeling of like, I don't know. I feel like there's just something missing kind of where I want to go. And I don't know if music is the right path for it. And then as we continued, I had a podcast show. Once I took the step to start making my own things, I had a limited podcast series called Becoming Worldwide, where I wanted to help undiscovered hip-hop artists learn how to get discovered. Just kind of like how your show, you were on the show, I interviewed you, that's how we met. And really what I wanted to focus on was the step-by-step process of how to get discovered. But I learned so much more in actually just asking the questions instead of staying back and saying like, I see all these people trying to make it. How can I make it as an artist? And then to tie it all back around, that entrepreneurial side came back. And that's when I realized, well, I like making music for fun more than I do as a business. So let me take a step back and not ruin the music atmosphere for myself. But the thing is, like what I like to tell people too, is at least I tried it, right? I went into it a little bit to the music business to say, is this for me? Realized it wasn't. Kind of took a step back, but still had that little part where I'm like, I love music no matter what. That's always going to be a passion of mine. So I'm still going to dabble in there when I want to, but still have that entrepreneurial side kind of hold me back to say I want to go down this route.
What elements of your musical pursuits would you say, if maybe you could expound upon that a little bit more, do you think help you transition from, okay, music is my main goal, that's what I want to do with my life, to like, hold up, like these things that I've learned as an artist can be put to use as an entrepreneur? What would you say those elements are?
First, I would say one of the elements was realizing social media isn't everything, right? Everything you see on social media is a highlight of what people are trying to show you, right? I think what underground artists and undiscovered artists need to understand is that, remember, social media is what you want to put out there, right? Because a lot of these artists are broke, right? Including like when I was doing it, I was broke, right? So for me to put a persona on, I think that was also held me back, because I was like, I don't want to be this fake character that's trying to show off this money, like a 6ix9ine or anything like that. I kind of also took a step back and said, as an artist, what have I learned, right? I learned music production. I learned all the technical skills of editing music. And I said, okay, what is the business side to music, right? So then you can edit. You could be a mix and master. If you had a studio, you can rent out the studio. So you got to look at the little aspects of how to make money too, because a lot of these artists think that they can get that big deal right away. And the problem is, until you can actually go through the journey and figure out those little learning curves, you're going to put yourself in your own way. That's how I like to put it. You put yourself in your own way because you're just trying to think of that big goal, but you have to think of the little goals to actually get you to that big goal. And that's another thing that social media kind of takes you back. You think you could do it within a week, right? You look at the post a reel or a TikTok and you're like, yo, why is this not getting any views? Like, oh my God, it's only got like 100 views. Like, this is nothing. I want to go viral so bad. And so many people want to go viral. And from where I was a year ago to where I am now, like, I had that mindset a year ago. If I go viral, I can get a whole bunch of sponsorships. I can get money. Nico with the brand partnership, you know what I mean? Like, I could be like that. But then I realized too, like, after speaking to even you, Nico, you explained, like, you just hit 3,000 subs?
3,000 subs, yeah.
3,000 subs, and you've been doing this for how long?
That channel started in 2009, man.
2000, you know what I'm saying? Like, it takes time, but you hit it, right? And that's a huge accomplishment in itself. Is 3,000 people? It's a lot. That's a good amount of people, but it took time. And again, for me, one of the main things, it takes time. But if you grind at it and you believe in the vision, set up those small goals to get to that big goal. And I promise you, you'll get there. And that's what I'm doing now. I just officially hit my first goal of actually getting a client underneath my company. And, you know, that's a huge goal in itself. And even though it's just one client, you know, I have a long way to go to where I want to get to. But you got to celebrate the small wins in order to get to that big one anyway, too, you know?
Facts, man. Facts. It's funny because I feel like you're reading my paper here. You're answering the questions before I asked them.
That's all right.
And the question was, no, this is good, man, because you're going in a good train of thought. I was going to ask you, like, what do you think is missing from most independent artists, like, framework and mindset? And you've already spoken into how social media isn't everything, how it's a highlight reel, how most people project a certain image that is not necessarily accurate or true. People get impatient. They want to grow viral. I saw this graphic. It's like, I follow these pages that basically turn like motivational quotes into like graphics, and basically it shows a picture of like intensity, right? And so intensity is like when you bounce a basketball and you bounce it hard and it goes and it goes and it slows down, versus like consistency is as if you're dribbling the ball and you could dribble it like infinitely. I mean, obviously, like, you as a person are going to stop eventually, but compared to like you bouncing it once and letting it go. So all that to say, if I knew the formula, if I knew the sound, if I knew the things that went into making that happen, it would be better for me personally as an artist. And this is saying it to the audience right now, because it wasn't just happenstance. It wasn't luck. It was something that I had more control over than not. With Limits to Sky, it was almost luck, right? So to chase virality is like to chase one high versus like a consistent, sustainable music career.
What I've learned too is kind of like I said in the beginning, I was my mindset was that typical basic, like, if I can get this, or if I can get someone famous on my show, if I can catapult. But honestly, like, you got to fall in love with the journey too. And in that journey, you learn so many lessons that you can take and actually mold yourself to become better. And without those lessons, if you get viral right away, without those lessons, sometimes you can, like you said, go up and then immediately go right back down because you haven't learned the things to actually help you keep going up.
Yeah. If you were pursuing music right now as trying to make it a music career, what are some things that you would be doing differently that you see other artists doing, or some things that you already did that you feel like I could do that better now, or I will do that better now, thinking that like maybe music is still going to be something that you want to pursue as a business in the future?
I'm going to answer this in two ways. A year ago, I would have said I would have perfected my music. I would have perfected my sound. Now, I would have used TikTok to its fullest potential, even if it's not even viral. Because TikTok is a way of using, you can get like a small snippet of a song, right? And if it goes viral, you have a great song. But the difference is you get to kind of test what people like. And I think now is the perfect time for music artists to do that. For me, like I said, if I were to go back into music right now, I think I would take the route of kind of going towards TikTok and just kind of put what I want out there, right? Like I was trying too much to be like these hip hop artists when I knew my sound didn't fit that, right? Remember, I'm coming from a choir background. It's like singing and rapping is two different things. Right. And I think it's understanding and realizing everybody starts somewhere at the end of the day. And if you are a hip hop artist too, you could be loving jazz. Next thing you know, you're a jazz music artist. You know what I mean? Like just allow the journey to take you where it's going to take you, and don't keep trying to be what everybody else is trying to be too.
Your story is very much in line with what you just said, meaning that like you didn't box yourself in and say, I have to be this rapper. I have to like pursue this music career. You don't even though you love hip hop, you're like, I'm not even a rapper. I'm a singer. And so like all that to say that like even transitioning from creating music to serving other people with the services and skill sets that you learned through being an artist goes to show that like you're going where the need is. And I think especially for me, like now I'm 31, right? And I see like it's such an oversaturated market to try to be like a SoundCloud rapper or one of these viral rappers. And I'm like, I don't want to be part of that. Like I don't want to be a small fish in a huge ocean of like different size fish. Like I want to try to create my own thing, which is what you were doing with your business. What opportunities, and based on the conversation that you have had from, you know, becoming worldwide, your own podcast, what are some of the opportunities that you think people are missing out on?
Networking is huge. And let me explain a little bit, because when I say networking, everyone's like, you know, you meet with people, you collaborate with other artists. And I think what we have to do is give more than we take. And a lot of the time, networking, we go in with the intention of, if I can link up with this person who he knows I can take advantage of, right? And that would push me to get higher. That's really why I took a step back, is I went in a little bit, I understood a little bit, and then I realized too, like oversaturated, and there's a lot of people who are going in with the wrong intention, and I can't surround myself with negative energy like that, because that just messes with me. I'm genuinely trying to make a connection with you, Nico. Like, you know, I invited you to the show, but then after the show, we kept talking. Now we have a cool relationship. You know, I help you with this podcast too. You know what I'm saying? It was out of my heart. It wasn't, hey, if I do this, like I can do this with Nico. Nico has a brand partnership with distrokid. Maybe if I can get my show. And you know, you even reached out to me and said, hey, maybe I can see with distrokid, like I have a connection. But at the end of the day, that came out of you. It wasn't, my intention wasn't like, oh, you know what, let me try to pull that out of him the whole time. It was like, I want to make connections with people in this industry. So networking, like I said, my first episode of Becoming Worldwide, we talk a little bit about networking, but I also talk about when artists send you their songs for feedback. I think this is the greatest networking way, is you meet people online. Yo, bro, I have this song. I make music. Oh, I make music too. That's dope. Send me some of your tracks. I want to hear it. Be honest and be specific. Like that's my main thing. You got to be specific on if Nico sends me a song and the song is trash, I'm going to, hey, Nico, this song is not the best, but I'm not going to say, yo, this song is trash, bro. Like, oh, what do you think is bad with it? The audio mixing is terrible, all this stuff. No, then I can really say, be specific, right? So if you send me a song and it's not the best, hey, Nico, I see the vision that you have for this song, but what I think you could do is the EQ on this part is a little off, right? Or the lyrics for this one don't really make sense. I think if you maybe try to put it this way or kind of turn it a little bit this way, maybe that might help you. And then I also say to a lot of people too, is I also say, but this is just one person's opinion. And there's times where people send me songs and I'm just like, I'm going to be honest with you, this is not my type of music. So for me, I think mixing wise, I can say, yo, I think you can do better, a little bit better with the volume. I think this part was great, but this is not my type of music. So I can't, like, don't take it 100% to heart, because at the end of the day, it's like, I'm not your target audience. You know what I'm saying? That's what I mean by networking too, because there's so many Facebook groups, there's so many Instagram chats. Sometimes we hold ourselves back from actually finding those things too. And I think that was another lesson I learned too. And I won't go too deep into this one too, but I kept putting barriers in front of myself. And the only person who was doing that was me. And I kept trying to blame, like, oh, I can't find it. I don't know what it is. Like, I don't know what the next step is when it's right in front of you. Like, you have the whole internet. And it's really just taking time for like an hour out of the day. You sit down, you type very general at first, like, how can I get a record deal? And you research and you just see. And a lot of the times too, is a lot of people are trying to do the independent side too. So it's how do I make it as an independent person? Millions of YouTube videos, millions of podcasts. Listen to Nico's podcast. He literally is laying out the blueprint too. You know what I mean? There's so many things out there that you just got to take the time to say. And that's when the entrepreneurial side comes to it too. Nico always says this too. And this is really what attracted me to your podcast was you got to look at yourself like a small business. And a lot of artists don't look at themselves as a small business. They look at themselves as an artist, which is what holding them back from actually getting to that point of where they want to get to.
Man, you dropped some gems there. And I appreciate you saying that, because that was a hard lesson for me, was not treating my music career as a business, but as a hobby that was centered around my ego, right? Like, how can I get people to like me, validate me, appreciate what I do, appreciate the things that I like. And that's all good. And, you know, you can kind of work those things out on a personal, psychological, mental, spiritual level on one hand. But at the same time, if you're really trying to make it out here, like, you got to learn the fundamentals of business. Networking, you mentioned. Focusing on the technical aspects is another thing that you mentioned. Not being in it for self, because like you mentioned, like, if I'm in this for, when you network, even at a business event, regardless of industry, and you're in it, like, how can I get something from you? It doesn't take into consideration the other person, and the other person will not want to work with you. Yep. The fact that, like, when you approached me with the Becoming Worldwide podcast opportunity, I'd never been interviewed before to that degree. I mean, I've been interviewed, but not like, let me make a podcast episode about you and all that stuff. And then I heard the final product, and I'm like, it blew my mind, right? Because you put so much more time, attention, detail, value into the podcast than I could ever ask for personally. I took that value and said, this needs to be elevated to a higher level, right? And so that's where my mindset was at, kind of seeing both sides of the coin here. But all that to say, man, the thing about it is, man, I'm really invested in the independent artists, regardless of background, black, brown, Hispanic, white, whatever. But usually especially with rappers, not to say like other genres don't focus on this, we come from underprivileged situations, low income households, many times like broken homes that don't have the great example of maybe like your parents did, right? My parents are together, and so like I had that functioning family unit as well. But having mentors and having people outside of their circle show them that, like, A, your skills are valuable, keep learning them, keep leaning into them, and B, don't just focus on being a viral rap star. Like, there's so much more out there, that Anwill is a testament of that. And that's why I wanted to give you that platform, because you're a testament of that, man. Like, you've blown the roof on the expectation of what your career could have been, and now you're doing something that can elevate you even higher.
For those listening too, I'm not a guru. I'm just another artist just trying to help other artists too. And like, that's why I always say too, it's like, just give, man. Like, it's too many of these artists have these mindsets where it's like, I just need to get so far ahead and I don't care about nobody else and nobody likes me. It's like, nah, man. I think it's a great mentality to say, like, this is my music and I believe in it, because you need to have confidence. I'm not trying to say don't have confidence. You have to have confidence in order to make it, because there's going to be people who say, no, I don't like your stuff. There's a lot of people who are just going to be like, you know, this sucks. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, if you can have confidence and also humility in the way of, hey, maybe I can take this route instead of taking this I'm tough all by myself kind of route, it might open so many more doors that you don't even see. And once you get to that point, you know, you kind of keep going. And another point too that you said, you know, I know I'm fortunate. I'm very fortunate. I'm grateful every single day that I grew up the way I grew up. My parents came from DR. You know, I could have been a kid from DR in the streets. You know what I'm saying? And I grew up in a suburban neighborhood, great family values. I grew up with the opportunity to do what I'm doing right now as an entrepreneur, as a small business owner. And I got to say to myself, it's going to work out. But I know that I have my backbone right there with my family to always pick me back up. And I know a lot of people don't have that. Right. And at the end of the day, I think I'm always out there on social media and everything. You want to reach out, you want to have a conversation, you want to talk just to talk. It's like, I'm here. You know, that never goes over my head. I'm never a privileged type, because I'm also Latino too. And I see what we go through, see what my people go through. And I think it's if I can be an inspiration to my younger cousins or other young Latino kids to say, you know, you can do it. You can get up. You got to move. You got to work. But at the end of the day, you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. Then we can do it together.
Yeah, no, you said it all right there, brother. And I appreciate you saying that. You know, we're not gurus here. We're having real honest conversations. We're just speaking from life experiences, and some of those life experiences kind of cross, right? Yeah. And we have certain parallels between, you know, Anwill and I and the people listening. And maybe you don't, but at the same time, you have a similar dream that we did or do, and you could kind of pick up on those things and see things that you could perhaps focus on and change or open your mindset up, because nobody has told you or given you the pep talk or the confidence to say like, yo, you could do this too, because you're very talented at XYZ. You're an artist, so that means you can also be an entrepreneur. In fact, you should think of yourself in that fashion. So
all artists are entrepreneurs too. Like,
yeah, exactly.
They all are. It's you're building your own business, man. Like once you have that mindset shift, then you'll start taking yourself more seriously, because you're going to be ready to say, oh shoot, like I'm my own business owner, and if I want to make this a reality, I got to put the step forward to make it happen. So, all
right, I hope you enjoyed this episode. This episode was brought to you by DistroKid. It was edited in part by Martinez Production Group and produced by my media company, NTS Media LLC. I'm your host, Nico Santana. Feel free to subscribe to this YouTube channel for more episodes. And if you enjoyed this episode, I'm sure you will enjoy listening to this one as well.